Howdy, folks. How are we all doing? Just getting the stream up and running for a quick. Well, I mean, we'll do this for a little while, but I also wanted to, because I've got the music easel Arturia up. I must admit, it sounds very interesting. I mean, it is. I've always wanted one of these things. This and a EMS Synthi AKS in the suitcase. I think there were only a very few of the actual original music easels made, and it's absolutely impenetrable if you're probably from somebody like me who's much more of a kind of East Coast, familiar with East Coast synthesis. But there's some lovely sounds. Very unusual, and also not so unusual. So I just flipped through. Interesting. All the effects and what have you. So I mean, it's beautiful. The only problem I would say with it is, because they've gone for the actual interface. I mean, I've got this full screen on a 1080 monitor, and it is a bit difficult to see some of these. I mean, any smaller in the interface for tired old eyes like mine, and it's difficult. Yeah, they've done a really nice graphical job, even down to the sort of dirt around the patch points on the blue part of the keyboard. But it is, you know, if you're not into East Coast stuff and don't really know the Buchla way, it's going to take... I did think about reviewing it, and I started to have a look at it, and I just thought, I don't understand how any of this is working. Though there is a great video from Luke Pop, which explains it in great detail, and it's very helpful, actually. So, yeah, pretty cool. That's 4 voice. Not all the voices are up to 4 voice. Well, it's almost full screen, but yeah, it could be expanded. I mean, I could expand it a bit more, but I don't think... Can I make it bigger than that? Let's have a look. Can't see where it is. Resize window. That's 180%. If I made it 200%, how big would that be? Yeah, that's not something I can actually fit. I could. Oops, that's not even 280% resize window. What was it? 160? It's not even 160, is it? Resize window, 100%. Maybe that's it. That's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah. There it is. I suppose that's as... I think it... Because it was on a Retina screen, I just dragged it over. Perhaps it didn't. And of course, you're seeing it at... sorry, you're not seeing that. You're seeing this at 720. It's coming out of the stream at, so it's going to be scaled down a little bit. Can you drag it to resize? I'm not sure you can. I don't think you can. Some lovely sounds though. Very... And also some really weird ones. Lots of sci-fi stuff. I'm not quite sure where I am in the memory, in the memories. Maybe if we start here, we'll see what happens. Oh, that's nice. Anyway, Not really. I just thought I'd throw it up there. I don't know if we're going to get around to talking about it, the news of this week, but we'll be able to check. Nice too. Ooh. Three-voice poly. Okay, let's see where we are. Interesting. Let me see if I can find that. Looks like it's out there, isn't it? Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Excuse me. Booklet easel, yeah, it's $99 for that booklet easel, which is a bargain. There's something a little bit uncomfortable, I think, about the whole thing surrounding the way Don Buchler kind of passed away, and how he was really stressed about the whole kind of selling of the company and all of that. It just feels a little bit, it leaves a bit of an unpleasant taste somehow. But I guess business is business, and it's quite hard always. Christmas present delivery administration email typing there. Sorry about that. That's quite nice. That's a 3-note chord. Ooh. Some very unusual sounds this thing makes. I'm guessing. Yeah, lots of complex oscillator type sounds, which has that kind of really edgy, kind of slightly metallic rasp to it. Okay. Let me see. Why does Arturia pass on remix? Behringer gets a lot of flack for doing the same thing. Arpish looking. Let's see what comments you got. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, that's the. I couldn't not have this up here. This is feels quite cool, really. Where is it? Here we are. I managed to snaffle the top spot in the top 5 music personalities in the world today on Music Radar, which was very kind of them. I don't know how large the poll was or any of that stuff, but it's always nice to win stuff. We don't actually get put up for much, really. It's a shame it's me rather than the site, because obviously it's more than just me. I'm just on camera a bit more often than other people, but nice though. And they put a link to my live set, which is pretty cool. Although I'm not sure that's the best version. I think it will, whatever it is. It's all there is. But yeah, that's kind of cool. Right, so today we've got Ty, who hasn't been on for a long time. Ty just finished, obviously, the orchestrated album with Midgeor. We might talk a little bit about that today, but I'm hoping to line up something to go in the Christmas week where we'll talk in depth about the sessions and the kind of way it was all constructed and stuff like that. So hopefully I'll film that next week. And I was hoping to have an interview with Rupert Hine as well, who was a really interesting guy, like old school producer, has done, I don't know, I mean, loads of albums for lots of years. He did a load of, you know, classic 80s stuff. But sadly, he's unwell and wasn't able to make the interview. I was going to shoot it last week, but I hope he's all right. And I'm sure we'll get around to doing it again when he's feeling a bit better. Looks like the news of that Behringer synths leak thing has spread all over. This is this page here. I'll put this up here. I don't know if it's supposed to be there, but obviously you've got, this is the musictribe.be, and you've got the Deep Minds, and then you've got all these other as yet unreleased synths. Wasp Deluxe 2600, Cat, Synthy VX3, VCS3 possibly, 101 which we know about, K20, MS20 possibly, and a 101. Yeah, this looks like black, grey, blue. So yeah, I don't know whether those are supposed to be there or whether that's something that we're not supposed to know about. So shh, don't tell anyone. I'm waiting to get confirmation. But yeah, that's either a massive mistake or something calculated. We'll see. Yeah, Model D's not on it though. That's interesting, isn't it? I think that's coming. I mean, you know, I've heard that there are, I think it's as with a lot of synthesizers, or, you know, most anything, even the big companies, even if you've got your own factory, and I think Behringer just moved factories, didn't they? So I think it's like the last 5%, you know, the little snagging and the production side of things can sometimes take longer than you hope. So I'm not sure whether that's what's going on or there's something else that's the issue, but I haven't got an inside track there. Okay, so we're just waiting for our guests to show up. Let me scroll down and I'll be able to see when they arrive. Yeah, so I was going to say we've got Ty Unwin, we've got Rich Hilton, and we've got Gaz Williams as well this week. So we're just waiting for everybody to show up. Of course, this will be available on YouTube live, which you're watching now, and also it'll be on Facebook Live. I wish they'd sort out there. If it's in Chrome, what happens is I start the show and then the delay by the time it gets through to the Facebook streaming thing is so long that I'm sort of halfway, I'm into the introduction, so it's quite distracting. And then when I hit go live, the screen goes black and there's no sound, so I don't actually know at the end of the show when to hit stop. It's quite disconcerting, but it's just one of those things. Facebook always messing around with their interfaces. So I did send off an email about those Behringer pages to a couple of people, and I don't know if I'll hear anything back. We might do. Who knows? Let's see. Go back to our Buchla. Nice effects in here as well. These are the extra effects they've put on. That's more like the Buchla that we would expect. Not that I profess to be an expert. Oh, that's interesting. The audio rate mod is very good there. That filter yo and yo. It's only something you can do with decent audio rate mod. They say it's component modelled. And you'd have to say, you know, because I mean, there has been some criticism levelled at Arturia in the past that they've just kind of reskinned. They used the same bait. I can't remember the name of the engine. They had an engine, didn't they? Which was their sort of analog engine in software, and they obviously wouldn't be able to use that in this. They would have to kind of go back to the drawing board. Nice. That sounds like something off the patch sheet from the 1970s. Actually, what's that like with a bit of reverb on it? Let's see if we can switch the reverb on and see what that. It was a spring, wasn't it? TAE engine, that's right, Cresshead, thank you very much. Give you the credit there. TAE engine, that's it. I don't know if they still use that. Oops, go back to here. Let's go through a bit. Yeah, this is starting to take me to Morton Subotnick territory, isn't it? It's also got a 32-step sequencer in it. I like the sound of that spring reverb though. I don't know what this is. Let's go through a bit. Oh God! Help! It's making loads of noise. Who's that? Ty.
It is.
Hello, Ty. I'm trying to stop this from playing, but it's not. Oh, there we go.
Yes, it's starting to take me to Morton Subotnick territory, isn't it?
Oh, hold on. What's going on there? Something's coming back at me really loud. Oh, I'm going to turn that off. Something's coming back at me like... Is that me?
Is it me?
Something, yeah, somebody... No, it's you, Ty. That's coming back really loud. It's like you got a browser open of the live stream that's coming back 20 seconds later at extremely piercing volume. I'm getting those Buchla sounds coming back at me.
It's gone now. Sorry.
That's all right. You're welcome. And there's Rich. Hey, Rich, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Listen to that. The lovely mellifluous tones of Mr. Hilton.
Nice. I got my in-ears serviced by Shure. I don't know if you remember, but I was on 2 weeks ago and I started the show going, what the heck? And I took these out and I put in my stage ones. Well, what a difference.
Oh, really?
If you've got in-ears and you haven't had them serviced in a year or two, consider spending the $100 they'll charge you. Because in my case, they replaced both earpieces and the wire for $100 and whatever, $16, I think it was. And
are you a new man?
Oh, man. I was actually starting to worry that my hearing was going. I swear, it was that wacky.
Wow.
I was quite reassured when I put in my stage ones last time, but still, what a difference.
Absolutely. I'm just let's see what Ty is doing over here now.
However mellifluous I may be, I sound more so in my own ears today.
Excellent. How are you, Ty?
Hey, Rich.
Hey, Ty.
Tired. Hey, Rich. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Ty.
Guess what? Guess who got to bed at 12 o'clock midday today?
I couldn't imagine.
You mean after being up since the day before? You mean after staying up all night?
Yeah.
The client.
Actually, yeah, of course. Yeah. No, it's fine. It's another one done. So I set my alarm for 3:30. That's why I look like
you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell. You look well.
Well enough. Like a man who's been working all night.
Yes, exactly. But there we go. But I've
nice
got
nap.
one thing. Oh yeah, it was a nap. Hang on, let me unplug these and look at this. It's finally in situ.
What is
Can't
that?
see it.
Can you not see
Schmidt?
it?
Is that Schmidt?
No.
CS 80. Oh.
With touch strip.
Oh,
Fully
lovely. Lovely, Ty.
Yeah. It's
you weren't up working with a client at all, were you? You were just up jamming with your CS80.
Honestly, the biggest problem at the moment, is I've got so many bits and bobs that I haven't had a chance to explore. And I'm sitting here doing the same old on some good jobs, but you know, and I'm trying to find anywhere where I can fit all the new toys in. Just because, and I can't. So the only time I get to play with them, honestly, is when I'm loading up projects or exporting stuff. But then, like, I'm sitting there having to export a load of stems, going, great, I've got 10 minutes, and then I run off and have a play, and then anyway, such is life.
Well, I've been doing the old the Fun Friday things, which has been really just a real spur of the moment. I can suggest. What you need to do, Ty, is start yet another commitment of maybe just having 2 synths at a time and spending 10 minutes doing a little video just going, hey, look, these sound nice together. And literally all I've done is improvise, basically, and maybe, spend a moment to try and get some kind of musical theme together and then just filmed it and talked about it. And honestly, those videos have done better than almost anything else we've released in ages.
I've seen them.
Completely
They're
spontaneous. Great. It's fun.
I know,
really
but they're
good.
Great, though. Do you know why? I tell you why it's good. It's because you actually see things being used kind of in situ, kind of as things rather than reviews. When you play something for review, you use
it's very different. Yeah,
it's completely different. And so, I know for a fact when it's an 80, so I'm having issues with the 80. And when I'm basically in test mode, in other words, trying it out to make sure what's right, what's wrong, and finding what works with it. That's completely different to just sitting down and playing with it. And what's great about your Friday things is that you're actually just playing it. It's great. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really pleased. I found a new theme, and I've just done one with the Dominion 1 and the DO5 actually, because Gaz has just reviewed the DO5 and he left it here, so that's this Friday's. So while I haven't got anything on it depends on whether the studio's clear really, and that's what it is. So yeah, it's great. And the new video system means it's just absolutely so straightforward and easy just to go, I'm going to do that, and you just sort of do it. It's kind of
that's
easy.
That's the same as having all your gear plugged in all the time. It means you're actually going to use it. Exactly. If it's easy to get to and easy to access and easy to use, then you'll use it. If it's a pain, you're never going to do it.
So what was in the space that's it? Because that's taking a lot of room up in your room, and I'm fairly sure.
Well, when I tell you what, I'll tell you what I'll do. When we do the Midge thing, I'll take you into Studio 2.
Oh, that's where it's all gone.
2 is where all the stuff that should be in here. There's literally just leaning against the wall. There's a whole room just full of gear leaning against the wall. And I mean, what went there was a Oasis Voyager XL. But then what was also meant to go there was my Matrix Brute, VL1, Sempro. I mean, it's the list is ridiculous. But anyway.
Oh yeah, the Sempro. That's lovely,
yeah.
isn't it? Isn't the Sempro? Is it the 2 or the 4?
The 2 voice. The 2 voice. Yeah, it's
That's one synth I really have had a bit of a hankering after, and I've just been offered one for review, and I'm sort of thinking it's so dangerous. I mean, I can't afford it. I couldn't afford it.
Can I be completely honest with you? It has sat since I got it. It has been actually in here hours, and it's been sat trying to find a space for months. It's really sacrilege. It's not. I'm not proud of it, but yeah.
No, you have to clear space. It's one of those sims that you have to sit down and play out and play with, isn't it? You've got to kind of
completely.
It just sounds lovely. Actually, that was the thing when I got the Jupiter 6 up last week. Honestly, that thing, it really reminded me, because as I said, I think I said in the review that in the little piece, you sort of, when you're reviewing synths all the time, you tend to kind of use the last really good thing that you heard as a kind of reference point. Go, yeah, it sounds, at least it's got the same feeling as that. But then when you take something like, one of these old synths, which are, is in the rack, it's just too big to have out all the time, and play it and go, oh my goodness, I'd forgotten that could sound like that. So that's the thing. Yeah. There's Mr. Gaz Williams as well. How are you, Gaz?
Hello. Yeah,
excellent.
Good. It's is that okay? Sound is that loud enough?
Yeah, we have everybody. I think we are we are in a position to roll the show. So standing by, I've just got to set my set myself up. Right, here we go. Are we ready, everybody? Stand by. Hello and welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 517, recording today, Wednesday, the 13th of December. This is the podcast to do with music technology, software, synthesizers, all kinds of things. I want to say thank you to our show sponsors. I've got Isotope Ozone 8, the go-to mastering solution for audio. In fact, there's a competition. You can win a copy of that later. And also introducing Bitwig Studio 2.2. Dynamic modular DAW with a highly customizable workflow. There'll be a message from them a little bit later on. So thank you very much to our sponsors, and thank you very much to our guests as well. I think we'll start with Mr. Ty Unwin. We have the enigmatic and hard to track down Mr. Ty Unwin. As we know, one of the busiest media composer, but more recently, obviously, the Midge orchestrated album has come out, and no doubt you've been. Have you been all over European teeny bop TV doing those playback gigs?
Fortunately, I haven't. Midge has. I haven't. No, it's almost that bad. No, it's good. It's gone down well. I mean, it was always a tricky one because of we didn't quite know how the fans were going to take to it really, and if I'm honest, they're the ones we were kind of bothered about, and they love it, which is great. So yeah. But Midge is off doing interviews left, right, and centre, trying not to have to talk about Band-Aid and Live Aid and actually talk about the album, but it's good.
I can imagine that must be very difficult.
Well, do you know, I honestly, it's actually quite funny looking in from afar and watching the way the media circus works. And God, I wouldn't want to do it. The fact that, he has to turn up for these interviews and they want to talk about, what his favourite sock colour was and that kind of stuff. But he wants to talk about the album. They want to talk about other things. And also, I don't think he's been through an actual interview yet where he hasn't had to talk about Joe Dolce and Shut Up in Your Face and keeping Vienna off #1 back in 1981.
Yes, I know that feeling because when I had my brief brush with the charts, it was Mutant Ninja Turtles and also Timmy Mallet, Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Polka Dot Bikini. So I could thoroughly sympathise with him. But
Don't
Ty,
mess
lovely
with
to have
Timmy Mallet.
No, lovely to have you. Lovely to have you, Ty. And I can see we got a different angle this time, haven't we? And that's your CS80 finally in the house.
It is actually. Yeah, I just played you a couple of notes. If you want to hear a couple more, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah, go on. We can't mention it and not know it's plugged in and not have some sound.
Hang on.
Nice.
Oh,
you managed to get the greatest hits in there. So you got the polyphonic aftertouch, the slider, and the ring mod. More power to you. Nice.
And the mistakes.
And the mistake, yeah. That third note was a bit dubious, but you know we'll skip that for now. Anyway, those are other chuckles you've been hearing. Also, as we have Mr. Rich Hilton from Chic, and also Nile Rodgers Studio Guy. How are you, Rich? Done all your Christmas shopping?
Well. I think so. I might find out otherwise in the next week, but I believe it's all done and ordered and in progress.
That's always good to know, isn't it? It's funny the way that Christmas is going this week, this year. You've actually got, you know, right up until Saturday, so only Sunday off. So it's actually, you know, there's plenty of shopping time to be had if that's what you need. And
Not worried.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so you, when do you finish up for the year? Then have you got like a break?
Well, when do we finish up for the year? We're playing on BBC One for New Year's Eve.
Oh my God! Yeah. So when do you travel? So when do you travel to the UK?
You'll be seeing this. Excuse me.
When do you travel to the UK?
The 30th.
Right. Okay.
And then we play the 31st, and I travel home on the 1st, which
Whoa.
happens to be my father's birthday.
Wow.
90th birthday, I might add.
Wow, heavy and portentous couple of days. That sounds great, actually.
Yeah.
I hope it'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Right, and also we have Mr. Gaz Waldo Williamson, who's in Bristol, bass player, producer, technologist, and all of those things. How are you, Gaz?
Yeah, great. I was just thinking, have you got a facility there so you can get all four of us on screen at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's like, one of these kids is a little bit different. One of these kids is not quite right. Oh, something like that.
What is that? I don't know. I don't know to which you refer.
Oh, it's that thing in Sesame Street where they would just put four people up, you know, and one would be upside down, and then they would sing, you know, this little song. Sorry.
All right. Well,
okay, I got you. Nicely done.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
sorry.
Thank you, Gaz. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody wants to see that. You mean I have to stand on my head?
Cool.
Good. Well, Gaz, of course, Gaz has been doing the DO5 and the TR8, which we're hoping to get out just before Christmas. Actually, that's the plan.
Excellent.
So that's the idea. So yeah, all jolly good news.
And contrary to popular myth, I haven't had a shave or a haircut either. It's I put a video up yesterday of my old band Rocket Gold Star. It's footage from 2012, and I think a few people got quite excited that I'd finally sort of given in and had a chop. But no,
that would have been the short hair period and short beard all round, wouldn't it? Period of 2012, I would think. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. So actually, you can go back and look over old Sonicstates and find out where the right match is. Work out when it was.
There you go. That'd be something for the holidays. Although even if you did a week, I don't think there's enough time remaining before the end of the year to get all of those in, because about 500 episodes. It's a lot. I don't know how many 500
Someone
hours.
did it, didn't they? I remember someone did it. Was it like last year? And they sort of did it. They just spent the whole of their Christmas holidays just watching old Sonic talks.
Bless them.
Incredibly impressed.
Bless them. That really is. What a nice thing to do. If you're so inclined. Excuse me. Right. Let's get on to a bit of topicry, shall we? I'm just finding the right mouse here. I think I'll start with this one because I think it's that's assuming I actually have that. I'm just trying to find the window. There we go. This is the where has it gone? Oh no. Oh man, it's vanished. It's the audio. It's one of those sliders. Here we go. This is it. Extracts. Let me play the video, which has a really irritating voiceover quality to it, unfortunately.
Stems, the world's first fully automated stem creator. Extract Stems offers complete control over a 3-part separation of vocals, drums, and residual music. The X-Track Stems workflow couldn't be simpler, with intuitive controls that can easily separate any song into its drum, vocal, and remaining music components. Created for DJs, music producers, and remix artists, X-Track.
Right, so that is the Audionamics. I think this is kind of a repacket or a packaging of certain features of the Audionamics technology, which is actually really smart and clever. And the idea is, you know, you put something in, you get 3 separate mixes out. I mean, you know, I think results may vary depending on the complexity of the stuff, but it's an interesting idea, and I don't know whether it's a good thing. I mean, I guess if it works, it's like $75, I think, something along those lines. And we've probably all had instances in our professional lives where having the ability to be able to do that would have been kind of useful in some way. Have you tried any of the Audionamics stuff out, Rich?
I have not, and I'm, as we say over at Niles, from Missouri, which is the show me state about this. If it in fact will deconstruct your record and give you usable deconstructed tracks, I'd be pretty impressed. I'd like to see that happen. But but do I have any use for this thing? Absolutely not.
No, that's fair enough. I think
transcribe the damn thing.
You should transcribe it, or just go back to the multi-track, obviously. You know, but
listen to it and write it out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's an interesting idea, though. I don't know, Ty. I mean, I guess you put lots of stems down, and anyway, you know, that's the nature of your work. You have to supply all of those things. Do you ever miss the thing that they said? Can you just turn up, down, remove, whatever, or does it not matter?
No, I don't. Is the answer. Because I'm unbelievably thorough, like anally thorough, like ridiculously thorough. So I kind of cover all eventualities, really. This piece of software is, I'm a bit mixed with this, only because, do you remember when Roland bought something out similar to this a few years ago? Do you remember that? I can't remember what it was called.
Ooh.
They bought out a similar...
Wasn't it a centre canceller type thing?
Kind of, yeah. You could remove vocals and then, you know, kind of drums. And I know this is a very much more advanced version of that. But over the years, I've tried a few things like this. I'm a bit like Rich. I don't really have a need for it, but just because of the technology and just because you can means that you buy into these things to just kind of use it and go, wow, you never know when I might need that, knowing that you'll never really need it, but you might need it. And every single one that I've bought, it's the same problem, which is if you have a very kind of sparse and quite clear-cut track in terms of, you know,
basically the Beach Boys, the Beach Boys or the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper era, you're fine. Yeah,
you know, it is that kind of thing. If everything's very clear-cut, and then it's fine, and it works. But even so, if you listen to the examples they've got working on their demos for this, the main problem I have with it is the technology is fantastic. What it does theoretically is fantastic. But what it does for $75 is fantastic. But the problem is what you're left with always has artifacts that I don't deem acceptable. I mean, you're talking to someone that when I put a track into Ableton Live, I kind of struggle to use it because of the artifacts that, you know, kind of by doing the tempo mapping, by the artifacts it adds to the track, I can't listen to that. It annoys me. So the artifacts that you get from this, which is great in theory, all that kind of bubbling, gurgling kind of, I can't deal with it. So even on the demos, if you listen, it's full of artifacts. And the moment you hear those, just go, I'd never use any of those. I can't use any of those. But again, $75, whatever it is, it's great if that's what you need. And especially live, if you're DJing or whatever, it's, you know, could be a godsend. Not for me, though.
Okay.
So there's a few interesting things. It's interesting that the processing doesn't happen on your computer. That's something that's quite
yes, it does say you need system requirements. No.
For powerful cloud-based separation algorithms. What's this cloud-based separation algorithm then?
Good question. I'm just trying to see if I can get the page
that's
to load.
suggesting that it's like doing a bit like a kind of Siri thing or whatever, where it's, you know, taking it and processing it elsewhere.
There we go. System requirements. high-speed
Yes.
internet connection and OS X 11,
Features.
10.11. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's Mac only, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Features. If you're at the bottom of the features list, it says offers 4 powerful base separation algorithms, and I've just not seen that being offered on a, well, I mean, on a product that costs this much. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Sort of essentially, it looks like they're kind of offering you a little bit of number crunching off their computers rather than.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting, just from a general, is this what's happening as we move into the future? Are we going to see more of these kind of things? Do you see what I mean? You're buying the software, but you're just getting a portal to the cloud-based processing.
Your paltry computer will never be powerful enough to achieve the results that our massive intergalactic data center. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, in terms of like the algorithms, I mean, possibly, you know, there will be some sort of improvement there, and just, you know, the fact that the software is not tied to your computer, the algorithm, the processing part, just quite unusual, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, you know, that's a good point.
You see, I was thinking about this. There was a use of it, you see, that I don't think because of the algorithm, because of the artifacts currently that Ty was mentioning. Like, so the other day I was working on a mix, and the played in the room, so there was lots of bleed of the bass coming into the drum kit, for instance, you know. So I was using various pieces of software to try and minimize that, and I was thinking, is there a piece of software that can just go, yeah, I can see that there's a bass in this drum track, and take it out? And now this comes along, I'm thinking, but again, artifacts, and then it's a no-go, isn't it? So another thing, no demo, is there? There's no demo, so you can't go and check it out and give it a thorough sort of going over before sort of committing to buy. So that's just another thing.
I think there may be a reason for that.
Right.
Maybe. Sorry, Rich, I noticed you wanted to come in there, but you'll have to unmute your mic.
I wondered if the radiator was clacking away. I wondered if this gives them access to your content. I mean, if you have to go on to their cloud service in order to run the processing, do they then get a hold of your content that you've just processed?
I'm not sure. I suspect, as has been mentioned in the chat room, I suspect it's to do with them, you know, improving the size of their supermassive musical brain supercomputer by that sort of using machine learning to kind of you know, in the same way that Isotope have. I mean, I don't think it's quite as I don't know if it's done the same way. Maybe not, but it's got. Maybe I think that's possibly why.
Well, there seems to be a lot of money in this stems business. I get ads constantly from Native Instruments, for example, and I know there are other companies doing this as well, and they're selling basically music content that's hopefully been created for this purpose, but who knows? And if they get access to every single stem that they create for somebody out of this process, that's just an interesting conundrum for me to be having. I just wonder. I'd like to be assured that they do not have access to your source material.
Another question. Sorry, Pierre Fontaine in the chat room says, YouTube chat room says, if it's a cloud-based service, why is it Mac only? Good question. Ty.
Or maybe they just have a really great house band on tap, and whatever track you send them, they just sit there and recreate it without the bit. Quick, we've got James Brown come through. Go on, quick, go and get Dave. He's good at the drums. He does late 60s funk.
I must admit, out of all the conjecture, that's the one I want to be true more. That is a great idea. There he goes. Rich is ready.
Did anybody feel good?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
There you go.
Excellent.
That's my
There he goes
theory.
on his telly. I like that. I like the sound of that. Anyway, yeah, 75 quid. I mean, the tuning and that side of it can be done if you go for the, I think it's the X-Trax Pro. They've got loads of different sorts of this technology, which is obviously based around the same thing. And this one is obviously the simplest level where you don't get all that much tuning, whereas the more you spend, you can get really sort of super finessed and then, you know, be much more able. I mean, I guess if you need to remove the artifacts because that's your only choice, then you're going to give it a damn good go. Whereas if you just want to go, I wonder what it sounds like without the vocal, then it's less of a Jeopardy sort of situation, isn't it? So I can understand why that might be the case. So yeah, it might be worth a try for sure. Okay. Did we want to do the sound easel thing? Because Arturia have just announced all of their where is it? The V Collection 6, haven't they? Which I think we can see here, which has got a lot of stuff in it. In fact, I did. I'll see if I can find it because I had the sound easel launched, so now I've got to try and find it because it was just bleeping away in the background. I couldn't figure out whether it was a stuck note on my MIDI controller or what. So if I launch it, then maybe. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I've got it over here. So this is the sound easel. Let's see if I can make the size bigger. Oh gosh, I've got resize window. Must be about. No, that's too big, isn't it? That's too big. Wait. Let's try 120%. Resize window, 120%. That seems more promising.
Welcome this week to Resize Weekly.
I will play you a few. I have to say, it's a beautiful graphical representation. But the other thing is, there it goes. It's off.
Well, it might as well be.
But I don't know much about the whole East Coast thing. I mean, it's an interesting idea that they've gone for
the
it.
West Coast thing.
West Coast thing, yes. Thank you, Rich. I'm so glad you're here.
As someone from the East Coast, I would like to point this out.
Yeah. Thank goodness for my American friends. That's so. You wouldn't have thought that was possible from me, but there we go. I'm sorry about that. Right. So. I think it's $99 for the basic thing, but that obviously they say it's component model level, and from the stuff that I've been playing with, it sounds really good. But I have to say, it is also deep as I was saying, as an East Coast synthesis, you know, more my thing. It's also completely impenetrable, but you know. Even though it's only a representation of a synthesizer in a suitcase, I'm still really I want to like it and I want to get on with it. And I'll go to you, Rich, because you're American and you know more about Buchla than I do. I mean, obviously, yeah, it does actually. It's a nice thing, although it is quite a teeny tiny interface when it comes down to it. It's got a lot of other great stuff too.
Well. It, as you point out, sure does look pretty, and it might as well, because that's all it really has to do with a Buchla easel. It sounded all I heard was their demo video, and it sounded like an Arturia synth to me, software synth to me. Whatever that means, whatever that means to you, and however that works for you, it sounded substantially like an Arturia software synthesizer to me. And I don't know the degree to which it does or doesn't sound like a Buchla music easel, because I've never played a Buchla music easel. It's got the audio rate thing going on really nicely, and they seem to have nailed that pretty well. So, I mean, I will say from that point of view, and the spring reverb is definitely nicely modelled. I mean, I don't know, Ty, do you use the V Collection stuff? Am I right? Do you use that stuff?
Yeah, I do. And I'll be honest with you, this is the first time that I've kind of questioned the upgrade, only because they do a good upgrade policy, and so I'm obviously on the one before I'm 5, and what they've added to 6 is basically the DX7 and the Fairlight.
Yeah,
the Fairlight I'm not that interested in. I've got so many Fairlight samples and whatever, and I know they're making a big thing about the sampler side of it, but I wouldn't really use that. DX7 I have no interest in whatsoever, because I've got real hardware and different forms of that. So it's only kind of the Buchla that's interesting to me, really. And so they're charging £199, I think it is, or $199. No, I think it's £199 to upgrade. And so it's the first time that I'm actually kind of questioning whether I actually need to or want to be fair.
Huh.
I know it's not like me, but the Buchla is kind of the highlight of it. I get what Rich says. Arturia does have a kind of a sound. You kind of can spot them. In the context of a mix, probably not, but when you sit down and play with one, they do kind of have a sound. I'm not against that sound. As for whether this sounds like the real thing, I don't really know. I mean, the reality is the easels you can go and buy today don't sound, from what everyone said, they don't sound like the original ones anyway. So is this one sounding like an original easel, or is it sounding like one of the new ones? I don't know. I like the idea of it doing something different. The idea of sitting down and relearning synthesis from scratch, I'm really sorry, I'm almost 50 years old. I don't have time for that anymore. You know, when I was young, I'd think it was a challenge and it was great. But now I just look at it and think, I can't be asked. So it's, you know.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I think it's great.
I totally get that.
I think it's great, and I think it sounds good. And I'll probably get it at some stage. But
you're not running to the shops. No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there is a slight. I don't know what you think about this, guys. I mean, there is a slight sour note in the whole kind of business with Don Buchla and the way that the company was moved and how ill he was. And all that feels a little bit, but I guess that's not really kind of Arturia's thing. It's just
I don't really know about that story, so my experience of this has been absolutely brilliant, to be honest, and in part because I've been using it with this thing.
And the way that the company was moved and how I'm coming back somewhere. Oh, what, the Touche? Oh, you've been trying it, have you?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And the thing is, what I've been really enjoying with the Buchla emulation, with it being confusing, you know, just not knowing the workflow with it, it's sort of been I've just been haphazardly sort of playing with it and just really enjoying this kind of sort of chaotic relationship. Yeah. And okay, I mean, I'm nowhere near as experienced as everybody else regarding synthesis, but I think it sounds really good. I love it. I've been really enjoying it, I have to say. And actually, just speaking of the V Collection 6 in general, I mean, I think what they've been doing is really, you know, curating this great collection of instruments, and nearly everything, nearly every landmark is covered now, you know, and the fact that they've brought a really cool clavinet. I mean, I don't know what the others, what the rest of you
that's
think
true
about
as
the
well.
I think the clavinet, huge fan of clavinets. I'm wondering if the underlying modeling technology, if they're licensing it from Pianotech, just purely speculatively, but or something like that, because the electromagnetic keyboards they've been bringing out, like the Rhodes and the Whirly and the clavinet, they're modeled, they're not sampled. And I much prefer models. I don't care about the absolute realism. I much prefer I always think models are more playable. I think they're really, I just find them more enjoyable. So to see a clavinet now in that collection, it just brings that collection just to such a superb curated collection. And I just kudos to them for that. I think it's a very, attractive package now. And also, Analog Lab version 3 is really, really beautiful design. So it's a new design.
Right.
The browser. There's a whole load of stuff. I think as a collection, though, to go from, I would sort of say to Ty, I think that a lot of that work is also coming across as well. And all of the old plugins now, they've completed this transition of being able to resize them to all sorts of different monitor. You know, you've got a lot of.
Yeah,
but all of that was done. All of that was done in version 5. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to diss it as a collection, because I think as a collection, I think if someone wants to go out and buy a collection of vintage synths, you either go for this or you go for the IK Multimedia kind of synth collection. And either of those are, you know, you can't go wrong for the kind of money. And you look at how much you spend when they do their offers and things. You look how much they spend. You have to spend to get what you get. You can't find fault with it from that level. because it is one of the best collections of modelled synths. My only thing from a personal point of view was 200 quid for what essentially would be of only one thing of interest for me. Just seems, it's the first time that I haven't just clicked buy immediately. That's the only thing.
Yeah, okay. But, well, I'm just looking at this quickly. It's €400 reduced price at the moment. So, you know, that's
for everything.
For all of that, for everything, yeah.
So 200 just to get the new ones when we've already spent
I see
every
what you
time.
mean.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's too much too.
Yeah,
right.
Every time, because every time I've upgraded, it's always, you know, kind of 149 or 199. But I've been doing that now for 5 versions, so I've spent
50.
Yeah, a lot.
You know,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But 50 quid, 50 quid, you know, 50 quid for a brilliant Buchla emulation, or 50.
Well, it's 99,
nice
but it's
DX7.
€99. It's a bit more than that.
No, but that's
I
what
see. Yeah,
doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're buying it in the first part, I take your point totally.
That seems okay.
Yeah, I've got you.
Well,
It's
you're
a
loving
great
it, Jazz, and that's great.
Yeah, that's really good.
For you, it's worth every penny because you love this thing.
Right, I'm just going to pop in because we've got two slots to get in this week. So I'm going to get the Isotope Ozone 8. Of course, Isotope Ozone 8. This is the kind of go-to mastering suite. I mean, it really is able to do a whole bunch of stuff. Mastering Assistant helps you set up your session to begin with, so you kind of in the right ballpark. Gives you a very sort of educated starting point through machine learning. Very clever stuff. You've also got reference matching mixes. You've got the well, I think it's going to get there in a second. The assistant is working. Yes, there it goes. And it analyzes basically the material. You can master your tone with tonal balance control, which gives you a kind of visual reference of what the different frequency bands should be doing, assuming you're aiming for that particular kind of sound. You can have the various different presets. You can change instances of Neutron and other instances of Ozone 8 from a kind of master session. It will control other instances all from within the same point. So if you need to do things to actually tweak the mix, you could do the whole thing from within a single GUI, which is really smart. You can also do stuff like reference tracks, whole folder of reference tracks, so you can A/B between your mix and the kind of sound that you might be looking for in another mix just by referencing. Set the audio levels absolutely accurately. Really very powerful and comprehensive set of mixing mastering tools, in-app referencing. There's a whole bunch of features here which you really should try if you're interested in mastering, or even just kind of having stuff that will able you to get better mixes. The Ozone 8 and Neutron 2 are really classy plugins. In fact, we're listening to the sound of the podcast is live through Neutron 2, and that's what's giving us this new fantastic radio type sound. But anyway, if you want to check out Ozone 8 and Neutron 2, head over to isotope.com/ozone and you'll get the 10-day free demo as ever with all Isotope stuff. And of course, we got a competition this week. Last week we asked for the hashtag, what was it, for great mixes and Ozone 8, and we got a winner. The winner is somebody called ModSource Music, at ModSource Music on Twitter, who tweeted those hashtags, said, I want to make great mixes too. So hopefully you will be able to now with the aid of Ozone 8. If you get in touch, we'll be able to supply you with the codes to give you full access to Isotope Ozone 8. And we've also got another competition this week. You can win another copy of Ozone 8. We're looking for it's a Twitter competition. We're looking for the hashtag mastering expert. That's one word on the hashtag Ozone 8. And you tweet that to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. Yes, you do need to be on Twitter, but it's a painless thing. So the hashtag mastering expert and the hashtag Ozone 8 to enter the competition, @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. Excuse me. I want to say thank you very much to Isotope for providing this week's competition prize. Much appreciated as ever. Oh, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. I don't know if anyone saw this.
As Madam Gandhi. I'm super excited to talk about the
This is the sort of trailer for the Moog Always On 50 hours live stream where they had essentially 50 performers, and it was just streaming 24 well for 50 hours straight. It's a really good idea. It's not archived though, so the moment is gone. I did watch quite a lot of it. And it was focusing on women and transgender, so it was very much a kind of like not a male thing. It was just a sort of Moog are really into kind of promoting women in music, and it was a great exercise from that point of view. What a great idea! I don't know if anyone got a chance to see any of this. Gaz, did you get a chance to tune into any of that? It was I must admit, the numbers watching live was a bit disappointing from my point of view. I thought there'd be more.
Sadly, I was looking forward to it. I put it on just as it ended, so I got the timing all wrong. But I really did appreciate what they were trying to do there. On a number of grounds, really, and also just the fact that it's not been archived and things that you have to kind of witness. I think that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because then it's a little bit more
of an event, yeah.
More of an event, yeah. And so for people watching it online and knowing that it's not going to be, that you have to then be there for that moment. So I think I like that idea as well. That maybe sort of highlights of it will become available down the line, but yeah, we should do one.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I mean, I was watching with interest because I just thought, what a brilliant, I wonder how they're doing it, because I was thinking, oh, this is really interesting. Ty, I'm guessing is there any point in asking you, because you probably didn't even have 20 minutes in that 50 hours that you could have watched any of that?
I can honestly say I would have loved to have watched it. I would really have loved to watch it. Really interested. I think it's fantastic on every level. The whole, kind of women in the industry, transgender in the industry, not archiving it. Everything was really appealing and fantastic and wonderful. And because of deadlines, I didn't get to watch a single minute of it.
Oh, it's a shame.
Not a single minute of it, which was really disappointing. But I couldn't really turn around to the clients and go, hey, sorry, I haven't got what I needed to do, but I just watched the most amazing synth concert. No, didn't get a chance, but I think it's fantastic. And I think the whole not archiving it thing, I have a bit of, for me, there's a bit of a backlash to society and the way it is and social media and everything at the moment. And YouTube and the internet in general. And I know it's a real kind of old fogey way of looking at it, but I suddenly start to realize that things are really good back in the day when you didn't have instant access and not everything was on tap, and you did actually have to appear at an event. And when you went to a gig, you actually watched the gig rather than watching the back of your phone while you were recording it. All of those things, it sounds a real old fogey thing to say, but I'm just having a bit of a backlash against all things, of that.
I can understand that. I mean, it's bizarre that you were saying that watching the back, because most of it was streamed via phones, and I have to say that was the only thing that I was a bit disappointed. Nobody, or very, very few people, actually got a line in. So I saw a band playing. I forget what they were called. They were all set up in a studio, filmed through the glass, mic'd up, and we were just hearing the audio via the speakers, the studio speakers, into the and I just that was a bit disappointing. I'm sure we could do better than that, but I also understand that streaming is, I mean, we're here, all of us, it's taken us a while to get this thing set up. It's not the sort of thing that, if you're just kind of go, yeah, I'll do something, it's not always that straightforward. But I think, it would be good next time. I don't know, Rich, did you get a chance to catch any of this, or were you aware of it?
Yes and yes.
Hey, cool.
I watched I watched a DJ performing to mostly an empty bar during the middle of a day. I think it was the first day it was on. And he was doing enough interesting stuff to keep me for probably 5 minutes, which may not sound like much, but in my case, it's a long time. So I was actually impressed. You're selling it. I was actually quite impressed with this guy for those 5 minutes. I was also impressed with the idea that this aspect of Moog Fest would bring more attention to a wider variety of artists across a broader platform. And I thought that part of it was cool, that they're trying to take the Moog Fest brand and broaden it both stylistically, like jazz festivals do, hiring Deep Purple to come and play, and by making it available to a wider number of performers by creating all of these venues, kind of like with the way the Montreux Jazz Festival does with all the jazz venues around the main venues. So I thought of it more from the standpoint of a process, of a festival process, and of the opportunities for these additional artists. What I saw was interesting from that DJ, but he was basically playing to an empty bar.
Yeah, there were a few DJs. There were quite a lot of performers as well. A lot of it was very interesting, and also a bit weird for them because, you know, in many cases they were just performing, say, in their empty kind of dining room or wherever their thing was set up. It wasn't like a gig atmosphere, so they weren't able to draw upon the energy of an audience in the place. So, you know, that aspect is going to be missing unless you do it from a venue and then you're streaming. You get to stream the energy a little bit more as well, which sounds a bit sort of spiritual, but it's very true. I mean, one of the reasons that we do this live, apart from just because we can, is because it adds an extra sort of frisson, you know, knowing that there are people out there watching. In fact, I don't know how many we got at the moment. Some, I can't tell.
A couple,
what is it? How many?
Couple,
do
three,
I
couple, two,
do I
three.
need? Yeah. Do I actually want to read this thing? Well, nearly 500 people. You know, that is pretty damn good. That people can give up their
Hello,
time wherever they are.
everyone! Way!
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hooray! Yeah. But
Yeah,
a brilliant idea and something that I think could be built upon in the future. And indeed, you're right, Gaz. It gave me a few ideas, and I think, yeah, I would kind of like to think about that. You know, this idea of creating events-based stuff where maybe we can have people online coming in and maybe also somebody in the studio, so we intersperse it, so we've got the reaction. I'm not sure about the non-archival, just purely because, you know, it would be nice to be able to have, like, say, if we're talking to people about their gear and stuff, we can have that as well, so it's got context, and you know, that's the publisher and me trying to maximize the content we might create and all of those sort of stuff. But yeah, nice idea, very nice. But you can't see any of it. Like we say, we might get a bit more of it coming up in the future because of that. So we'll have to see. I'm also going to take this opportunity to bring a message from our other sponsors. Bitwig Studio 2.2 is here. Bitwig Studio combines both timeline and clip-based sequencing on Windows, macOS and Linux. It features VST3 support, plug-in crashing protection and a highly flexible user interface. With a lightning-fast workflow for keyboard, mouse and also touchscreens, it's great on the new Microsoft Surface devices. Modularity is also central to Bitwig Studio. It focuses on strengthening the way devices interact with one another and offers a highly flexible modulation routing system, so you can route almost anything to anywhere, including audio rate modulations. Bitwig also offers many sync options: MIDI clock master slave, MTC, CV and gate, hardware audio clock and Ableton Link. So why not try Bitwig Studio today? Go to bit.ly/Bitwig now and try it out for yourself. Excellent. Nice to hear. Nice to have another show sponsor. I want to say thank you very much to Bitwig for that, and it is worth checking out. I mean, it's very much the idea that you can create these kind of very powerful workflows, and also the modulation stuff in the version 2.2 that's just come out is bonkers. I mean, it really is kind of insane, and of course, Mac, PC, and Linux at the same time. Right. Let's see. Oh yeah. Now, ain't this a great idea?
Introducing AudioSwift, a new app available for macOS that lets you use a trackpad as a control surface and MIDI controller in your DAW. If you work with a Magic Trackpad at your studio, or you're on location working with a MacBook, with AudioSwift you'll be able to move one or two faders at the same time with simple touches. Control the panning of a track without moving the mouse pointer. Change the send levels. Write automation in a quick and easy way. And use the trackpad as a jog wheel. Also, they let you make beats, play notes in a key, and use it as an XY pad.
It's quite a long video, but this came up and I sort of like the news item just sort of went past, and I sort of went, yeah, that's all right. You know, I didn't notice, and then when I looked at it, I just thought, actually, that is a really cool idea, just for a very compact setup. Certainly for automating certain things. Oh, at least I think so. I don't know, Gaz. I mean, and your controller, you've got all the Cubase kind of little. I forget what models they are. You're big on control surface stuff.
These things here. Oops.
Yeah. That's them.
Sorry. For
oh, whoa, that's weird.
Yeah. This does look good. I think it's what I was just a bit sort of concerned with a little bit though is like the appointed device is so important that if I don't know that. Well, how do you do it? There's an F key, I think. Is it like F13 or something?
Well, there's two ways. You have a four tap to start it, and then you hit the bottom corner, so you go in and out of the mode. Yeah. So I take your point though, because it's so subconscious. You're using it at such a subconscious level. It would require something.
I think. The idea, though, I mean, the fact that it divides the touchpad, the touch interface into zones, and there's all like different mix buttons like mute, solo, and various things like that. That I suppose once you learn where they are, because you're not taking, if it's quick to toggle between it being a pointer and the editing facility, like super fast, and you could integrate that into a workflow, then this is the potential to be incredibly powerful. I mean, it can be like a chaos pad immediately under your fingers for doing effects parameters and stuff. But interestingly, like with this one, if you've got one of these, it takes the force touch thing as well, so you can apply aftertouch and you can play notes, scale modes. So when I was thinking about it more, I was thinking, blimey, your hand is not your right hand, or if you're left-handed, whatever, your main hand doesn't leave that zone at all. And for super hyper fast work, that could be pretty cool. It's just whether the interface can kind of keep up with that promise, I suppose. But interesting, definitely. Interesting idea, yeah.
I know, Rich. I mean, are you a mouse guy, controller guy? I don't think I've ever asked, really, whether it seems like such a personal question. Trackpad guy. So you could actually utilize this.
I went whole hog trackpad because I decided that I was willing to put up with a trackpad in order to get consistency between all my devices, namely the laptop and my desktop computer. So I said, to heck with the trackball I've been using for 25 years. I'm going to go with trackpads everywhere, and I've gotten quite used to it. Now, there's a couple of things about this. First of all, using it as an XY trackpad makes some sense to me. Most of the rest of what we're talking about doesn't really appeal to me that much, but I suppose could be useful to people. It all feels like they're trying to make a trackpad into a rolly block, basically your basic rolly block, which does pretty much all of this stuff very, very well as a standalone device, and already has software written to adapt to it, stuff like that. And your trackpad is not going to give you 5 axes of expression, whereas a rolly block is. So it's a clever little product, and I think that's all well and good. Now, haven't we just spent a decade or two trying to get away from using the mouse and the trackpad as our controllers, and issued every conceivable form of hardware controller device known to man so far, in order to combat the idea that we should be using these things to control this kind of musical material? It just, just saying, it's just an interesting thing. Just like, analog was horrible while digital was the buzz, and now digital's horrible, then analog's the buzz again. It's like, it's all about buzz and what people want to use. And now that we have 2,000 devices with drum pads and knobs on them, people want to go back to using this thing to control audio and MIDI. And all right, sure, fine. I've been mixing on one for years. I'm fine with it. I still, but sit next to Softtube's Console 1 and explain this to me.
I suppose you're right. I think the difference is with this is trying to mix when your finger is the actual pointer is harder than when it's just the movement. The movement is relative to wherever the fader is, for instance, if you're automating, for instance. So you're using the gesture effectively in this instance just to create the automation. And I think that's kind of quite a big difference in terms of mixing, because mixing with a mouse or mixing with a pointer is more, you have to be more precise. It's more fiddly, whereas this has got a slightly less, slightly removed, I suppose.
And I've finally been just about convinced to buy myself some kind of set of faders just for this purpose. And
hey, there's no need now, Rich.
Now I'm finding out I waited so long I don't need them anymore. It's a beautiful thing.
Would you go for automated ones out of interest?
You mean motorized?
Yeah.
Probably not. No, I was looking at PreSonus's 16 fader port, maybe, just because it doesn't take up that much real estate on my desk. The 8 one is more of a large postage stamp, whereas this thing is a little bit more like the shape of a bunch of faders, which is kind of more what I want.
Okay.
But I haven't actually touched it yet, and until I do, I'm not that interested. You know, I want to actually feel it, and it has to justify itself in the feel, because if it doesn't feel like something, then I don't need it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Ty, I don't know whether you're a kind of, whether something like this is of interest to you. I mean, I think that confusion of which mode you're in would take a little bit of getting used to, perhaps.
Well, I mean, I've been this is my controller now. That's my controller, and I've been a controller person since oh god, do you remember Steinberg Houston?
Yes.
Do you remember Houston? Yeah. So
did you have a problem?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Steinberg Houston. We all have problems. So I'm very much a controller person. Do you know what? In theory, this is great, and I love the theory of this. But I personally, the reality of this is just completely so unappealing, and just so. I would love to know how many takes it took for them to actually get that little promo video together. I'd love to see the outtakes with people going, hang on a minute, what mode are we in? How many clicks if I press 3? Hang on a minute, no, I'm in the wrong zone, hang on a minute. And when they're doing the drum things, you know, we've got a pad that big that we're suddenly dividing into however many you know, kind of drum zones, whatever. I'd love to sit the outtakes with them. All they wanted to do, if you noticed, all they do rhythm-wise is bum, ch, bum, ch, because I bet they spent 5 minutes having to get their fingers in the right position to go, hang on a minute, okay, take, bum, ch, bum. That's the reality of it. And no, I'd be all over the place. You know, for me, this, we have this space, and I click on it somewhere here for a left click, and I click on it somewhere here for a right click. If you want to get more specific than that, I'm screwed. It's not going to happen. So, and as for modes, if I don't know what mode I'm in, I don't want to be looking at the screen. I don't want to suddenly be wanting to move the cursor, and all of a sudden the faders are moving. I don't suddenly want to be, you know, which is what's going to happen. And no matter how much you learn it, there will be modes where you're sitting there not quite in the right place or the right mode, and you'll be doing things. I would be screaming at this.
Yeah, I take your point.
Can I ask?
But other than
can
that,
I ask a question?
I love it.
Can I ask a question? This is so to everybody, really. How many of you use 3-finger drag? Just sort of not click, just the 3-finger drag to do.
Do you mean deliberately or accidentally?
Fader moves, doing fader moves using 3-finger drag. You know, it's something you have to enable. It's not on by default, is it? The 3-finger drag.
I've done that.
Really?
I've used
absolutely massive change. It will if you got one of these, anywhere your mouse is hovering, 3-finger drag, and it'll just gently. You can do it all the kind of really nice fader moves and stuff.
Oh, hold on.
You've got to enable it.
I turn around every
if you haven't
tried this.
Okay, we're all gonna try it now.
If you haven't done it, it changes your workflow, and it's mind blowing. It's absolutely brilliant. But I'm always surprised that most people don't do it.
Everybody's looking to see if they look.
It's not working for me in main stage on my laptop.
You have to enable 3-finger drag in the trackpad settings.
In Apple settings?
I thought that was for a whole different reason.
Honestly, it is absolutely brilliant. And once you get into using it, you'll just think, why?
Enabling it.
Sorry. Live tech support.
Live tech support. Okay, trackpad.
Yeah.
Hold on, I can probably do something with this. So where are our trackpad?
More gestures.
Scroll and zoom.
I don't see it either.
Point and click.
Where is it? 3-finger. Hang on.
More gestures.
Oh yeah, here we are again. It's Gaz's imaginary world.
No,
there's no such thing.
Wait,
I can't see it here. No, not on mine.
No, not on mine.
Oh,
Gaz, where do we have to go for this?
Yeah. Which universe? What were you taking before you found this?
3-finger drag. Unless, hang on.
Where?
What version of the OS are you in, Gaz?
I'm in the last Sierra.
Okay.
Me too.
I've got to be honest, it is different now. Hang on.
So
I'm in there too.
3-finger drag. Where is it? So
Yeah.
you understand
Well
what I'm
done,
saying?
guys.
You just put
Yeah.
3 fingers. You don't press it.
Yeah, I
Where
get
is
what you're
it?
saying. I'm trying it. It's not working, so I'm trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Do you know what? It used to be a clickable on an earlier version.
Been using it a lot recently then.
Yeah.
I use
Or
all
does
the
it still
time.
work? You still work? Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's okay. Well, maybe if anybody in the chat room can tell us where it is.
Right.
We've got a
Gaz has
challenge
spent the
now.
last Gaz has spent the last 2 years going, it's not working how I remember it used to work.
So I'm moving.
Okay, Gaz is showing us now. You're looking for a fader?
Okay. Right. Okay. I'm just using it. I'm just moving this file across here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not pressing anything. My 3 fingers are just resting on the trackpad, and I'm just swiping left and right, and I can do that movement. Yeah. I'm not clicking. I'm not applying any. I'm not applying any pressure. I'm just.
No, not happening.
Okay. So
if I swipe 3 fingers left and right, I'm switching desktops in Mission Control.
Okay. Perhaps we could come back to this. If you go. I'm sure our viewers are fascinated, but they might not be that fascinated. So, but yeah, no. If it works, I totally get it. I mean, essentially,
it's in accessibility. It's in accessibility. Someone's saying it's not in trackpad.
Okay, hold on. I'll give it that one. Like, where's accessibility?
It used to be in accessibility.
Where is accessibility? I can't access accessibility though. What the hell is that?
Yeah, you can.
Accessibility. It's the little blue dude.
Oh man!
Like they've moved it. So they've moved
Mouse
it.
and trackpad. There we go.
Trackpad options. Trackpad options. There we go. And then this is where you can
enable dragging.
Yeah,
I say
3-finger drag.
Ah, okay. I still can't see why.
They've buried that, but seriously, try it on faders. Try it on anything. 3 fingers. Any control that you want to adjust without applying any pressure. Just.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That works.
Oh, hooray!
See, apologise, MFs, apologise.
No, I wanted to get that.
For the abuse.
All right, Gaz, I apologize.
Thank you, Gaz. You've changed.
Brilliant.
Honestly,
Right. Anyway,
I'd be interested to see how you get on with it. I thought it was immense.
All right, okay. Well, so it's a very similar concept. I should go back to the topic in question, which was where are they? Audio.
Oh, that's not worth it. 3-finger drag's far more important.
It's only requires 2.11, 10.11 or later, $24. So it may well suit your needs. So I just thought it was a cool idea, and I'm pretty sure when we were at Music Messer last year, there was a guy playing a kind of wind controller. You might have seen it in the background of a few of our videos. And the other guy was playing drums on trackpad. And I think that was a version of this before it became what it is now. It was kind of in progress. And he was playing some really pretty good drums on his trackpad. So he was playing the drums and the other guy was just playing. They were just jamming endlessly, sort of freeform stuff. And it was annoying because it went on and on and on, but it was actually quite accomplished. You know, he was able to be quite musical with it, so it obviously does work in terms of latency or what have you. And I mean, obviously, maybe this guy was one of the developers, so he would be good at it. But I just thought it was worth mentioning. Phew, well, we got in and out of that one all right in the end. Phew. Good grief. All right then, let's try this one. This is just a demo video of Elastic Effects, which is from the guys. I've forgotten his name. Is it Olivier Gischler? I think he's called. Did Elastic Drums, and it's basically what looks like 4 continuously variable effects processors with XY pad, and you could do some really cool stuff with it, which I'm sure he's going to do in a bit.
Eventually.
Well, and this is a bit. It's not a beta, but it's one of the early versions. This raises two things. You know, we've talked about the iPad becoming more integrated into everyday use in terms of effect, and for effects, it's actually really good because the processing is kind of, you know, on certainly the modern ones you got enough. But also the notion that there is sort of this concept of hardware effects or external effects seem to be having a bit of a renaissance. You know, I think, and it's partly because algorithms themselves are now going back into that have been developed by people like Eventide and all those guys, is now becoming realized within hardware, and that whole concept is really, I think, quite an interesting one. Now I'm going to go to Rich. I know that most of your work is happening in the box, right? Apart from the actual physical process of recording. I mean, do you find that external effects have a place in your studio life? I mean, or is it the portability makes it kind of less likely that you're going to choose something external? Or do you, like, for instance, at the crib, are there certain hardware effects, I'm not talking effects specifically rather than outboard, that you still turn to and use?
There are, and there could be. Less often than perhaps software solutions, but there are certain hardware solutions that work better or do things that you can't do in software. And sometimes you just want to grab a knob, which I believe is the basis for this whole part of the industry. So, sure, I've used various hardware effect devices.
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, the other thing is also that the idea, because, you know, we are inundated with, you know, brilliant software recreations or reissues or boutiques or whatever. They all make these sounds, but ultimately now the complexity, we spoke about it before, didn't we, with the Eventide thing, the idea that it's down to the effects which kind of are now responsible for generating, in some ways, the more unique aspects of the character of a sound. I don't know. I mean, I guess Ty would be you presumably, you know, external effects are less likely in your world just purely because you've got to recall and you've got to print and you've got to work in the box. But do you think that there's... Sorry.
No, do you see, it's for me, yeah, I think I have two, I've said this before, I have kind of two worlds and two heads when it comes to this, because on a day-to-day basis, having everything recallable and in the box is obviously just what I have to do. So I'm a big UAD fan, I'm a big Eventide fan, plug-in wise and you know, waves. So everything tends to be in the box. The moment I'm doing kind of more long-term and more personal projects that aren't for TV or film, I'm completely opposite. I've got a lot of hardware. I've got Lexicons and Eventides, and I've got a TC6000 and loads of, I'm just looking now, loads of multi-effects lying around. And I'm a real hardware fan. And I have to say, I love using them. And it's great. And your head goes into a different space than when you're using plugins. And so from my point of view, the whole hardware for effects, I've kind of hung on to most of mine. And I love them. I absolutely love them. But are they as easy to integrate in a project? Probably not. But it's the same way that, you know, if you're going to, on that token, you're never going to use a hardware synth because it's more difficult to integrate into a project than a virtual synth. But 99% of the time, it's worth the time and effort.
Right, I got you.
So, can I jump in here?
Yes.
Because look what I got the other day. This thing.
Oh, wow.
This is an effects unit, an EF303, with a step sequencer built into it. And like, even though, I mean, it's like 20 years old nearly. So the effects, which are digital, are a bit kind of, you know, of their time. This stepping on the knobs and various things like that. But it sort of all pales into insignificance compared to actually the mass fun. I mean, one thing, I've been putting my DRM Vermona through it, and because any of the effects parameters, you select which one, that you select one, and then the step sequence becomes whichever. So you can actually jump in real time between the sequences. And it's got a full sequencer. You've got loads of controls. You can choose how many steps it is. You can choose whether it goes forward and backwards, how long. You can have it going so it changes steps every 8 bars. So it's got like tons and tons of cool things. But I think the reason why I was mentioning it is, it's like it's just so much fun because it's all hands on the whole time that you're manipulating the sound. And what it's interested to me, this particular thing though, this from 1999, DJ culture and dance music was so prevalent then that the manufacturers were trying to kind of keep up. And it's just before computers completely took over, that period of time. So it's quite interesting because that time the stuff is really cheap and generally quite hated. And like, look, the only connections is on phonos,
RCA,
which is a dead giveaway of its kind of the era in which it was made. But big chunky buttons. But sorry, this is the last thing. I'll try to be quick. The thing that I found out about it though, which is really cool, is that the sequencer works over MIDI, and you can choose a whole load of scales and set keys to it, and that's really neat. You can so the MIDI sequencer side of it is like really deep. You can get them really cheap as well. So I thought, cool things. Keep a lookout for them. But the reason why I was mentioning it, sorry, go on.
Do you think that the concept of using like the iPad as a dedicated effects processor is valid? Because I mean, now that if this actually isn't AU version 3, but if you are, you can pipeline that in and out of the computer if you've got the right connection, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about AUM, and we must do that feature that we've talked about, because the way I've got it set up is very much the iPad and real-time effects on the iPad and physical effects as well. And it's kind of the best of both worlds, because, you know, that touch interface that you can do on the iPad is still incredible. I think it's one of these things that on its own is only good for certain things. The hardware is good for other things as well. So the way that you can combine them together now is absolutely brilliant. And yeah, so I know I'm a big advocate of that, but the little setup I've got going there now, I mostly just use that for fun. I've got to be honest. Most of the work happens in the box computer, but that stuff I do for recreation really. So having lots of hands on the controls is part of that sort of cathartic process. And it's about, for me, that's about getting away from the computer and having no computers. The iPads don't display computers. They're more like touch screens that you put your hands on to adjust things as opposed to actually watch. So anyway, going off on one, sorry, there we go.
No, but I think you're right, because I think what we tend to do as kind of tech geeks, and where we're sat in front of computers, is kind of forget about, I mean, guitarists. I spent years thinking, well, why don't guitarists just buy all the Roland just rack stuff, rather than the whole kind of floor full of pedals, and why don't you just buy a 19-inch rack that does everything? And it's only over time and experience and talking and working with different guitarists that it's that realization of, no, the fun bit is having all of these pedals that don't recall things and don't have memories, and it's all very instantaneous, it's all very of the moment. And I started doing that with hardware, with Muga Fugas, with synths going into Muga Fugas, going into analog heat, going into kind of hardware, and just making a chain, like exactly the same as like a guitarist would have an effects chain of pedals. I did it with hardware stuff. And again, as Gaz was saying, the fun element and the spontaneous element of that, you would never get that doing it in the box. You just would never get it. You would never do it. The fact that everything isn't tempo synced, the fact that everything is slightly off kilt and kind of slightly distorting as one input goes into another, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it really good. And I think what I do like about this kind of integrating multiple effects into an iPad is you kind of get a kind of mini sense of that, and a lot kind of cheaper and more accessible kind of level. I mean, do you remember the Alesis Air effects? Do you remember those?
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
I've got an Air synth and an Air effects, and I've had those going into Chaos pads And then, you know, it's all completely bonkers. And the problem is you can just get carried away and, you know, kind of you suddenly wake up and it's like, you know, a week on Wednesday. And you suddenly realize.
That's not a problem.
You know, it is for me, believe me.
Yeah.
But so
this is why
I think it's great. It's great. It's great. So.
Excellent. Well, I should point that it's not out yet, this thing, and it's Elastic Effects will be at some point. The interface may well change and stuff. I just wanted to draw your attention. This sort of just in bit of news. Somebody's just found this URL on the Musitribe site, which is the Behringer site. So we've got all the synths here, and then suddenly you scroll down, there are these other products which are not actually anything that we know about. Wasp Deluxe 2600, Cat, Synthy VCX3. The MS101s, which we've seen. What's this? The K20, which looks like it might be an MS20. I'm not sure. And these are all kind of like, you know, not quite formed product pages. What looks like on the Behringer site, which is a bit of a. I don't know if that's supposed to have happened.
I'm saying no more than Yuri is very good at this kind of. No, is it Yuri? Yuli. Yuli. Yeah. Very good at this kind of stuff.
Oh, you think that's what it is? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's all just.
I noticed that, but the bizarre thing is, after all of this, the Model D isn't there, which is actually supposed to be.
Well, that kind of. Maybe
which is bizarre, isn't it? Maybe so. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw it in there. I thought even though, you know, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be official or anything, but hey, what the hell? Okay, I think. That might be it for this week. We've managed to fill plenty of minutes. I know, Gaz, there was another topic we were going to try and cover, but I think we're probably at that point. So it's probably time to say goodbye to everybody. First, before we go, I just want to say if you want to enter the Isotope Ozone 8 competition, we're looking for tweet the hashtag Mastering Expert and the hashtag Ozone 8 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. If you do that, you'll be in. Picked for the next week's show. In fact, next week is the last show before, I think it's the 3rd. I think the way that Christmas is falling this way. So last week before Christmas, then we take a week out, and then the day after New Year's Day is kind of, you know, is up for grabs, which is a Wednesday. So I guess we'll be doing a show on that, which means that we often miss 2 over Christmas. So maybe it'll just be me, who knows. And Ty has very kindly agreed to do us a little talk about the orchestrated process, which we'll hopefully put in the week between. So you won't have too long without us. So that'll be cool. Thank you, Ty. But we just got to figure out the technical aspects of it, of how to see what the sessions are and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, the size of that blooming screen behind you, I don't think we stand a chance. How am I going to get that in? That's massive. You just move out. That's
one of 4.
Oh my God! Your tan must be awesome. Right. Yeah. But thank you very much. Also want to thank Bitwig. Don't forget, if you want to check out their stuff, there's the demos that you can download. You just go to bitwig.com, check out Bitwig Studio 2.2. I think it's 2.2.2 in fact now, but do check that out. Gaz, thank you very much for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure as ever.
Thank you. For anyone local playing Rocket Gold Star, my long-term old band, on the 22nd of December. The last gig we did was 2012, so it's a long. So I just put a video up. I'm just trawling back through all the old stuff. We're having to learn a whole bunch of tunes, which are, oh God, it's hard. It's so hard. There's some stuff on my Gaz Williams YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But yeah, if you're kind of in the South Wales area, 22nd in Pont-Llanfraith. That's right. It's funny. It's a club called the Llanarth Club. And we used to play there in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, and we haven't been there since. So it's going to be like going.
See if they got the same carpet.
Yeah.
Even stickier.
I really hope it's exactly the same. If it's changed, I'll be sad. But yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody. Enjoy.
You're welcome, Gaz. And also, Mr. Rich Hilton, thank you ever so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as ever. Oh, over and out.
Oh. Yay!
Everybody take a shot. My pleasure. It's always great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Been good. And also, Mr. Ty Unwin, thank you for joining us as well. It's been great to have you on after all this time.
Sorry it's been so long, and I'm not going to be around next week. So I know that next week you're probably going to be covering the products from 2017.
Oh yeah, I
so I'm
forgot
just
about
going
that.
to. I'm sure do it next week. It's a great topic. I mean, all I would say is Lyra 8, Fusebox.
Oh yeah.
And the Abyss. They're for me, the Abyss, Lyra 8 and Fusebox are the highlights for me of 2017. And more to the point, because I'm not going to be around, I hope everyone has an absolutely fantastic Christmas and a brilliant New Year. And I know it's a week early, but I'm not going to be here. So I hope everyone has a great one.
And you, Ty, I hope you get time out, actual proper time out, rather than just an hour for dinner.
You know me far too well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have to blow my own trumpet here as well. Did you see? I am actually the number one music tech personality in the world today. The thing I really liked about this was by far and away the most, which I mean, you know, my mum loved that line, and Andrew outstripping Andrew Huang, which I was very pleased about because he's got an enormous number of YouTube. I'm not sure how many people voted in this, but if you did, thank you very much. And it's always nice to get awards, however, in whatever form they come, unless of course it's the worst anything, then it's not so good. But thanks very much. Anyway, that was Sonic Talk number 517. We'll see you next week, last show of the year. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Thank you, folks. I'm going to finish the live stream on Facebook. I have no idea whether it's real because I've got a black screen. We'll see. Anyway, let me just get you all back. Hey guys, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, great.
Excellent fun.
Always
lots of fun.
Yeah, always good.
Yeah.
Right.